Have you ever stood at the edge of a decision that felt true to your soul, only to be pulled back by an invisible chain? Have you ever muted a part of your personality because it might not fit in? Have you ever chosen the safer path, the quieter voice, the more acceptable dream, because the thought of their judgment, whoever they are, felt heavier than the thought of your own regret? We all have. We are all living in a silent agreement, a shared hallucination. We act as if we are the central character in everyone else's story. We believe our choices, our appearances, our successes and failures are under constant review by a grand, invisible committee of them. Our parents, our peers, strangers on the internet, our critics, even our friends. Today we dismantle that hallucination. We speak a truth that is not cruel, but profoundly liberating. It is the key to a strength you have forgotten you possess. Here is the truth: nobody cares. Not in the way you think they do. This is not a statement about cynicism. It is not an endorsement of loneliness. It is a declaration of your ultimate freedom. The spotlight you feel on you, burning, judging, approving. It is a spotlight you have trained on yourself, and the audience you believe is watching, enraptured. They are not there. They never were. They are in their own dressing rooms, under their own self-made spotlights, terrified of their own imaginary audience. This is the great human comedy, and understanding it is the first step toward a life of authentic power. Part 1. The architecture of an illusion. From our first steps, we are coded for connection. A baby's cry is answered. A child's drawing is applauded. We learn that external feedback shapes the world. This is natural, it is necessary, but somewhere along the line, a wire gets crossed. We mistake external observation for external validation. We begin to believe that for our life to have value, it must be seen and approved by others. We build an entire identity around this premise. Our social currency becomes not our inner integrity, but our perceived social value. What will they think becomes the silent operating system running in the background of every decision, every ambition, every moment of self-expression. But let's examine the they. Who are they? Thee is a phantom, a composite ghost made from fragments of past criticism, societal expectations, competitive jealousy, and projected insecurity. We give this ghost a megaphone and let it commentate on our lives. They won't like this. They will think you're a fraud. They are doing better. Now step outside your mind for a moment. Think of the last person you envied, the last person whose life seemed so perfectly curated. How long did you truly think about them? A few minutes, maybe an hour of lingering insecurity. Then your own life, your looming deadline, your strained relationship, your personal hope came rushing back in. You returned to the center of your own universe, because that is where you live. This is where everyone lives, at the center of their own universe, with their own deadlines, their own strains, their own hidden hopes and private shames. Your drama, in their world, is a passing headline, a flicker on the feed, a piece of conversation over coffee, forgotten before the cup is empty. This is not a tragedy. It is an emancipation. If no one is truly, deeply, permanently fixated on you, then you are finally free. Free from the prison of their presumed opinion. As Epictetus said, if someone enrages you, know this: you have partnered with them through your thoughts. You have allowed them to steal your peace. You handed over the keys to your house, then cried, "Why was my house robbed?" No more. You are rediscovering yourself. Every morning when you open your eyes, feel death on your shoulders. This is not frightening. This is the awakening bell. If today were your last day, would you really waste it on petty gossip? Would you cry over trivial material loss? Of course not. For a Stoic, every second is a field to train one's will. Your body may be imprisoned, but your mind is capable of roaming the universe. If poverty troubles you, know that it is not an empty vault, but an insatiable desire. The richest person in the world, if ungrateful and always wanting more, is the unhappiest of all. Epictetus commands us to change perspectives, not things. Suppose your closest loved one has passed. Naturally, you feel pain. But what turns this pain into endless suffering is our erroneous thought. They should always have been with me. The universe has given us nothing permanently. All is lent. Children, parents, love, they are all entrusted to us. When the time comes and the owner takes them back, are we entitled to endless tears? No, we must be grateful for the time they were with us. Do not say, I lost it. Say, I returned it. This is not wordplay. This is the pinnacle of spiritual freedom. View every situation in life, illness, misfortune, as a trainer. God or nature sends you the toughest opponent to shape you into the strongest warrior. And you want to retreat? No. Stand tall, look it in the eyes and say, here I am ready. You may take my body, but you will never touch my will. 2. The opinion audit. When you feel the sting of judgment or the anxiety of what will they think, pause, perform a ruthless audit. Whose opinion is this? Name the phantom. Is it everyone? That is not a person. Is this opinion about something within my control? Hint, it almost never is. What action within my control aligns with my character? Shift your focus from the uncontrollable, their judgment, to the controllable, your next right step. 3. The voluntary difficulty. This is a profound Stoic exercise. Once a week, consciously choose a small discomfort. Wear an outfit that's slightly out of your norm. Eat a meal alone in public without a screen. Express a minor, harmless opinion that goes against the grain. Do this not as a stunt, but as a lab experiment. Your goal is to observe the reality. The world does not stop. The judgment you feared is a whisper, not a quake. You survive. You realize your social skin is tougher than you thought. You build immunity. 4. The evening review. At day's end, review your actions not by the outcomes, but by your intentions. Did you act with integrity? Did you choose courage over comfort where it mattered to you? Did you guard your inner citadel? If you slipped and worried excessively about an opinion, forgive yourself and note it. Not as a failure, but as a map of where your mind needs retraining. This is how you transfer the source of your self-assessment from external applause to internal alignment. Part 4. The liberated life. What awaits you when you internalize this? When you truly grasp that the audience is a fiction, a metamorphosis occurs. The energy you once poured into managing perceptions floods back into your life, supercharging what actually matters. Creative courage. You will create not for likes, but for the truth of the creation itself. The art, the business, the idea that only you can bring forth will finally have room to breathe, unsuffocated by the need for instant validation. Relational depth. Your relationships will transform. You will stop seeking people who simply mirror you and start attracting those who challenge and complement you. You will love from a place of abundance, not from a need for completion. You will have boundaries not as walls, but as gates you consciously choose to open. Emotional resilience. Failure becomes data. Criticism becomes a possible source of useful information to be accepted or discarded, not a verdict on your worth. The roller coaster of external validation is replaced by the steady ground of internal progress. You become anti-fragile, thriving not in spite of challenges, but because of the strength they force you to develop. The end of comparison. You look at the highlight reel of another's life, and you see it for what it is, a curated performance. You no longer compare your behind the scenes with their premiere. You become the sole author and critic of your own story, and the need to benchmark it against others simply vanishes. Do not postpone anything. Tomorrow I will be good. Tomorrow I will be stoic. Why not today? Why not now? Death does not wait. Begin the change now. Organize your thoughts. Do not focus on external chaos. Create order within. Then you will see how the world around you begins to shift. If you change, the world changes. If you are strong, problems shrink. If you rise, enemies vanish. The path of Stoicism is arduous, but it is the only real path. You are not alone on this journey. For millennia, great men have walked this path, and they shine as beacons for us. Every word of Epictetus is a balm for your soul. Read, understand, and most importantly, practice it. Philosophy is not about talking, it is about living. If you integrate these principles into your life, people will look at you and wonder, how can this person be so calm and strong? And you will just smile inside and say, because I am the sovereign of my own heart. This power is yours. Use it, protect it, share it. The world today needs Stoics more than ever. The world does not need the weak who whine. It needs heroes who stand tall in any adversity. And that hero is you. If today's talk has opened a new chapter in your life, our purpose is fulfilled. To continue exploring meaningful and life-transforming truths, join us. Subscribe to the channel because there is so much more we will learn together. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next videos that nourish your spirit. If this video helped you in any way, like it and leave your thoughts in the comments. Which idea of Epictetus resonates most with your life? Your opinion is invaluable to us. Share this video with friends who need spiritual support. Let's build a strong, conscious community together. Until the next video, may inner freedom and tranquility always be with you. Part 6, The Ancient Codex, Lessons from Those Who Lived It. To understand this is not intellectual theory. We must walk with those who lived it under the most extreme pressures. Their stories are not myths. They are blueprints, etched in resilience. Consider Seneca the Younger, the wealthy advisor to the Emperor Nero. He lived at the epicenter of power, gossip, and lethal politics. His entire life was a performance for the most dangerous audience imaginable. Yet, in his letters to his friend Lucilius, he wrote, "I never wish to please the crowd, for what I know, they do not approve, and what they approve, I do not know." Seneca knew that to seek the applause of the fickle, corrupt Roman mob, or even the sinister court, was to chain his soul to madness. His peace was maintained by a daily practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Each morning he would visualize the loss of his wealth, his status, even his life. By mentally rehearsing the worst opinions and fates, he stripped them of their terror. When Nero finally turned on him and ordered his suicide, Seneca met his end with unsettling calm, discussing philosophy with his friends as his life bled away. He had practiced for that moment his whole life. The ultimate opinion, the emperor's death sentence, held no power over his inner citadel. Then there is Cato the Younger, the staunch Republican who became a living symbol of defiance against Julius Caesar's tyranny. To Cato, public opinion was not just noise, it was the very weapon used to corrupt the Republic. He wore simple clothes, walked barefoot in Rome, and lived with a brutal, self-imposed austerity that made him a subject of ridicule among the elite. They called him a pretender, a performance artist, but Cato's audience was not them. His audience was virtue itself. His life was a consistent, unbroken argument for a principle. When he ultimately chose to take his own life rather than live under Caesar's dictatorship, he did so not for applause, but for coherence. His final act was the ultimate expression of living by an inner code, making the world's opinion irrelevant. As the historian Plutarch wrote, even Caesar, upon seeing Cato's corpse, muttered, "I envy you this death, for you envied me the honor of saving your life." Cato's integrity was a force so potent it unsettled the most powerful man in the world. These men were not superhuman. They were practitioners. They built their inner fortresses brick by daily brick through journaling, reflection, and deliberate action. They understood that the world's theater, with its crowns and daggers, its cheers and hisses, was a passing show. The real drama, the only one worth winning, was played out on the stage of their own character. Part 7. The Modern Laboratory. What science tells us about the spotlight. This Stoic wisdom is not mere ancient poetry. Modern cognitive psychology confirms it with brutal clarity. It's called the spotlight effect. Researchers at Cornell University conducted a now famous experiment. They asked students to wear an embarrassingly loud t-shirt featuring singer Barry Manilow, deliberately chosen to be uncool, into a room of peers. Before entering, the wearers predicted that roughly half the people in the room would notice and remember the shirt. The result, only about 23% actually did. The wearers felt as if a spotlight was on them, burning with the shame of Barry Manilow. In reality, most people were barely paying attention. Their own thoughts, worries, and self-consciousness, your embarrassing shirt, your awkward comment, your minor failure, your unconventional dream, is not under a spotlight. It is barely a flicker in the peripheral vision of others. What your brain, in its evolutionary obsession with social survival, magnifies your perceived visibility by orders of magnitude. You are your own Truman Show, but the cameras are not there. You are both the star and the only one in the audience. Furthermore, the phenomenon of pluralistic ignorance shows us that we often mistakenly believe everyone else adheres to a social norm, while we alone struggle. We stay silent in a meeting, assuming everyone else understands, while they are all equally confused. We don't pursue a passion, believing it's not what people do, while countless others harbor the same secret desire. We are prisoners of a consensus that doesn't exist, governed by the opinions of ghosts. This scientific lens is liberating. It means that anxiety is a glitch in our perception, a bug in our mental software. The Stoic practices are the patch, the cognitive behavioral therapy of the ancient world, designed to debug the system and see reality as it is, not as our fear-distorted minds project it. Part 8. The Daily Drill. From philosophy to muscle memory. Knowing the history and the science is foundational, but strength is built in the repetition of the drill. Here is your tactical manual, beyond the morning and evening rituals. 1. The and then what? Drill. When fear of opinion strikes, if I publish this, they'll think I'm foolish. Ask the chain of questions. And then what? They might leave a critical comment. And then what? I might feel a sting for an hour. And then what? I will breathe. The sun will rise tomorrow. I will continue my work. This drill exposes the anticlimax. It shrinks the monstrous, life-altering fear of judgment down to its true size, a temporary, manageable emotion. 2. Curate your inputs. Command your attention. Your mind is a fortress. What you allow through the gate matters. You cannot control the world's noise, but you control the volume. The social media purge. Unfollow, mute, or curate aggressively. Anyone whose feed primarily induces comparison, anxiety, or a feeling of not enough must go. Fill that space instead with accounts that educate, inspire genuine creativity, or simply make you laugh. The information diet. Just as you wouldn't eat junk food all day, don't consume mental junk food. The 24/7 news cycle is engineered to hijack your attention with fear and outrage. The ultimate external validators. Consume news deliberately, not compulsively. 3. The identity detachment exercise. Write down the labels you cling to. I am a successful manager. I am a helpful friend. I am an intellectual. Now consciously practice detaching from them. Say to yourself, if I lost my job tomorrow, I would not be less worthy. If I couldn't help today, my core remains. If I said something unintelligent, my mind is not void. This practice separates your being from your doing, your intrinsic worth from your shifting social roles. When a label is threatened, your entire citadel is not under siege. 4. Find your trireme, not the harbor's gossip. In ancient Rome, The gossip of the forum was meaningless noise to a sailor focused on navigating his trireme through a storm. Your trireme is your craft, your deep work, your magnum opus. The more hours you log in focused, undistracted work on something that matters to you, the weaker the voice of the external becomes. Your satisfaction comes from the feel of the oar in your hand, the progress through the water, not from the chatter on the distant shore. Make your work so engrossing that it deafens you to the crowd. Part 9. The highest stakes: love, loss, and legacy. This philosophy is tested most severely, not in the boardroom or online, but in the deeply human realms of love and mortality. In love, seeking a partner to complete you or validate your worth is a contract for misery. You bring an empty cup, demanding they fill it. The liberated approach, born from not needing external validation, is to come as a full cup. You choose a partner not because you need their applause, but because you admire their character and wish to share your already fulfilled journey. This creates love based on abundance, not lack. It allows for healthy boundaries and honest communication, because the fear of driving them away with your truth is subordinate to the integrity of living your truth. In loss, when grief comes, the loss of a loved one, a career, a dream, the world's opinions are especially cruel and useless. You should be over it by now. Everything happens for a reason. These are the noises of those who cannot sit in the silent solidarity of your pain. The Stoic, having long practiced focusing only on what is within their control, does not add the burden of managing others' perceptions of my grief to the weight of the grief itself. They grant themselves the permission to feel the full, wild, uncontrollable tide of emotion without a script. They understand that this process is theirs alone, and its timeline and expression are not subject to public review. In legacy, finally, we come to the ultimate question: how do you wish to be remembered? If you live for applause, your legacy is written in sand, washed away by the next wave of popular opinion. If you live by an inner code, your legacy is etched in stone, not in grand monuments, but in the quiet example you set, the principles you upheld when no one was watching, the integrity that became your signature. Your legacy becomes not a list of achievements praised by others, but a moral fingerprint, uniquely and unmistakably yours. Conclusion: the sound of your own freedom. So let us return to the beginning, to that feeling of the invisible chain. The chain is an illusion. You have held the key in your hand all along. It is the key of perception. The decision to redirect your gaze from the empty stands of the imagined audience to the rich, textured, challenging, and beautiful landscape of your own one and only life. This is not a journey to a destination called not caring. It is a journey toward sacred caring. Caring so deeply about the right things, your virtue, your craft, your loved ones, your inner truth, that all the trivial, noisy, parasitic cares simply fall away, having no room to root in the solid ground of your purpose. The world will continue to be loud. Let it. You are not a prisoner of its noise. You are a gardener, and your attention is your water. Water only what you wish to grow. Plant your seeds in the fertile soil of your own chosen values. Tend to them daily. Protect them from the weeds of others' agendas. And in time, you will not need to look to the stands for approval. You will be too busy enjoying the shade of your own thriving, authentic, and unborrowed life. The opinion that matters most is the one you whisper to yourself last thing at night. Make it a kind one. Make it an honest one. Make it yours. The speech is over. The work, your glorious, personal, emancipated work, begins now.